First of all, I would like to start by saying that we're very pleased actually that the Commission picked autonomous driving as an IoT vertical on which we want to actually bet as an economic block. And this is simply due to the fact that I see a very strong parallel between Industry 4.0 and indeed, Nikos, you mentioned it before, digitizing European industry, and the connected driving or whatever intelligent transport topic, simply for the reason that in both scenarios we have, as European economy, a very strong manufacturing base. So we saw this in Industry 4.0. We needed to digitize to really be competitive, and we have to do exactly the same thing here, unless our European car industry will really get digital at the outset and digital by default. We will essentially as an industry be wiped off let's say the car industry ecosystem actually quite fast. In fact, the opportunity that is there is quite amazing, and in fact, Attila, to the comment of your car that doesn't connect to you, actually statistics show that by 2020 the demand of connected vehicles will increase 4 times. So we're talking, it's tomorrow concretely, 2020 literally. And the shift that we're gonna witness with the car industry is gonna be quite amazing, and actually it's way broader than just having a vehicle that has some sort of connectivity on it. On the one hand, in our view, cars as such will shift from productivity dead zones to real digital hubs, and digital hubs and enablers. And in fact, the consumer expectations for cars will change as drastically as they did essentially for a smartphone, if we want to use just a very basic everyday comparison. So if you think about your phone today, and if you think about in the ranking of all the usages your smartphone has, and where the phone, actually the ability to make a phone ranks, well, probably no longer on the top 1 spot, and a similar thing will actually happen with cars as digital hubs and digital enablers. In fact, and this goes, brings up a whole new question on the new business models and where we can actually leverage from connected vehicles and automated vehicles from economic growth perspective. And there is really one proof point that I wanted to address at this stage, and then we can obviously discuss later further. So it is expected that the global revenues from digital content connected to cars will actually go up by 300% by 2021. So again, it's tomorrow, for a business that is estimated currently to $138 billion. So meaning that you'll sit in your car and you'll actually do a lot of other stuff, but you're not going to be driving. So that's obviously the ultimate scenario. And where a lot of business model and revenues will come, pretty similarly to your smartphone, will be entertainment or interactions you will be doing with the rest of the city. So needless to say, and again, we heard from Attila how the Parliament will look at the environmental impact in the next stage in the next own initiative report. I think that the benefits, we've been talking at Brussels level from a benefits perspective for a very long time. So needless to point to environmental carbon emissions, better service, no congestion. So again, Brussels will leverage greatly, I think, from that world. But I really wanted to leave you in this first set of remarks with 2 main considerations, or whether or not are we doing enough to really grasp this opportunity that is there, and whether Europe will really gain in terms of economic activities and competitiveness from connected cars. And so in my assessment, and again from a preliminary round of observations, I would like to point to essentially 2 things. No question, the Commission has done a very good job in assessing and tackling, and still we're in the process of tackling some of the issues from very different perspectives. We have obviously Connect looking at the connectivity and issues and which technology we should go for and so on. We have then harmonization of traffic rules. You saw in the video that your car can be clever enough to get on the lights switched on when you cross the border and stuff like that. That's all great. We are starting certainly with the basis, which is, you know, no need to say the foundation, but there are two things that we would welcome, let's say, focusing on. The first one is, again, an infrastructure question. What we are seeing is that for concrete deployment of connected cars, what we are missing is the infrastructure on the roads. So currently we're talking a lot about equipping cars, and it's going to be LTE, it's going to be 5G, it's going to be which pilot with which funding. That's all great, but then if the car has nothing to connect to, well, there will be not much of a use of a pilot. So in Germany there is a digital highways project done, I believe, in Bayern. It's the one of the A9 or whatever highway, doesn't matter. It's now having the infrastructure that can interact with the car. But this is clearly an aspect, let's say, where, again, we would welcome a top-down approach by the Commission, because if we see more initiative, actually even not a member state level, but a lender level, it's clear that we will just end up into more fragmentation, which is precisely what we're fighting against with the help of the institutions. The second big consideration, so this is kind of a very practical and operational stuff. The second consideration is actually much more broader in terms of an ecosystem and how we can benefit really from this digital hubs, vehicles as digital hubs type of approach. And here, what we would welcome is actually a reflection in terms of an ecosystem. Again, needless to say, it's right to start thinking how the vehicle transmits the data, through which technology, with which security, with which type of consent, to a universal IoT platform, and maybe later on I can explain where we fit as Hewlett Packard Enterprise in this game. But I think the biggest recommendation we would have is actually to make sure that we look at the connected cars topic from a smart city perspective. What does this mean? Unless we start thinking of a data management platform that will get all the data together, so not only car data, not only weather data, not only parking data, but much more, this is where you can actually start offering the real like next stage type of services that can be triggered. And this is where I was referring to before when I was saying that a car will be a digital hub. You may do stuff, you know, on smart city commercial interactions. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what future will bring. However, my point is that we're still at a stage where we are thinking about how to transfer data from the car into one platform, and eventually people think about how to connect the different platforms, maybe the one that stores the car data, and then we have, again, all sorts of other platforms that do other type of data storage. And maybe we should think in a broader, more cohesive and unified approach. Just to conclude, on the question of data ownership, again, agree that this is going to be a fundamental aspect also for any type of business models where we want to drag and extract out of it. And again, we can come later on to some examples on car wallets or what kind of really innovative applications we can have in cars. But just to, again, come back to your point and agree that this is absolutely paramount to solve. Thank you.